Hello, my name is Dan Frizza. I am a producer slash artist from Sydney, Australia. We are in my apartment slash studio, or how I would say studio slash apartment. I start all of my songs here in this space, and I tend to take them out to other studios to record drums and sometimes strings and other instruments that I can't obviously fit into this environment. A lot of the time when we're putting demos together, sometimes a little piece of magic happens in those demos, and I tend to try and keep and maintain those little bits of magic that happen, and I can't quite say what or how or why, but usually you know towards somewhere between the middle and towards the end of the project that you understand that those sounds become just part of the sound of the record, and the record wouldn't exist without those sounds. And the good thing is that when I'm getting those sounds, I can trust that I'm getting them in a high fidelity and well-recorded way through my interface and everything that I'm utilizing here. So if I do choose to keep it, it's at a high enough quality that I can keep it in the project and not have to worry about having to redo it or recapture any of those special moments. So the way I've got it hooked up is through a couple of Neves, and then I've also got the MIDI hooked up, so whenever I want to go and put down a couple of Juno sounds, I can grab the MIDI and the audio at the same time. And what I tend to try and do is get a good take of that, and then I'll go back and play the MIDI back through the Juno and, you know, have a little fiddle with the oscillators and the envelopes and things like that, and create a bit more of an interesting sound. And having that always being recording straight through the Neves just creates a particular kind of character that I haven't been able to replicate with or through anything else. When I'm looking for pieces of gear, I'm trying to find stuff that I can trust and that I can rely upon, and that will just be rugged and also obviously sound great and feel great. And I feel like with Neve and on the input side of my projects, it's always something that I can look to and trust and rely that will get the job done and will sound great at the end of the day. I first came into contact with Neve and their consoles at a large format studio I used to work at in Sydney. They had the Neve 88R in their big room, which was a 88 channel version of one of these things. Immediately fell in love with the character and the tone that you could embellish the sounds on those machines. You know, whatever it would be, whether it was an orchestra you had in there, whether it was a drum kit, whether it was a vocalist, it always seemed to add some texture, but not too much where it would change necessarily the tone or the color of the sound that you're putting into it. It would just add some very musical elements that you can't quite explain. And from there, I realized that you basically can't make a record without one of those 88 channel consoles, but unfortunately you can't always take one of those with you. Music is one of those avenues that you can use to springboard that feeling or that idea to the forefront of the person in front of you. It sometimes feels like, you know, you're just a vessel for some other some other message that needs to be said or needs to be put forward to the rest of the world.